Right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel, and I got some good news stuff for you today, and a whole bunch of other news as well. I have a haircut, and you might be thinking, hey, I thought you weren't supposed to make a video for a little while. Well, the story is that my car's AC went out, and I was on the way to San Diego, and let's just say it got really, really hot, so I ended up having to turn around about an hour and a half into my trip. It was unbelievable. Never underestimate the heat of the desert. So, you know, nothing lost there except for maybe a little bit of gasoline, but it was a great trip, about an hour and a half trip anyway, so all right. But I'm gonna schedule it for another time. We're gonna do that another time. It's gonna be okay. So you know, I got back that day that I took off, and then I just decided we'd take a little break, a little family time on Saturday, and figured I'd make a video, or rather family time on Friday and a little bit on Saturday today, and then make a video. But either way, so our first story of the day is that the BitMEX CEO says that Bitcoin is going to move to 50,000 by the end of 2018. And again, I guess I'm such a negative person in terms of the price of Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to be 50 or 60,000 like some people think by the end of 2018. Now, if it went that high, now that's great for everybody, but don't get your hopes up. On Friday night, Bitcoin saw an unexpected surge in exchange volume, quickly bouncing from the 5,800 price level. So I did see that. We went from about $5,800 to what we are at now at about 6,300. Well, actually, we went to about 6,200 in that one spree there of buying. We got a little bit above that, as you can see by the chart there, and it went down just a little bit. So we got about to 6,400 or so, and now we're back down to 6,300. So was it just a whale purchase? I don't really know, but the volume did increase quite a bit. But that, again, could just be a lot of whale purchases when the price was really low. And usually with a whale purchase, we end up seeing a whale sell-off just after that. So despite being a welcome piece of price action, users were quick to question why this happened. Taking a look at the news sources, there doesn't seem to be a single catalyst for the price jump. And some chalked it up to the futures contract that expired today, or the culmination of the week's bullish news. Although the market would say otherwise, the past week has had a sizable level of positive news. Positive institutional investment from Circle, Blockchain, and Andreessen Horowitz. Just one of the many examples of the positive news, but sometimes the market moves irrationally, taking turns where there shouldn't be any. So Arthur Hayes, CEO of BitMEX, the lord of margin buys, popular leveraged trading exchange, if you want to call it that. I call it Lord Margin Buy, but either way, still has his eyes set on the 50,000 price prediction that he made earlier this year. Hayes, a former traditional assets trader and a graduate of Wharton, has made a name for himself in the cryptocurrency industry after a tenure on the Asian Wall Street. All right, so 50,000, I just don't know. Now, again, if it reaches 50,000, all the power to it. Great, awesome, amazing. Like that's great. That's great for everybody. But again, I have a bit of a negative attitude, I suppose, if you want to call it that. A bit more of a bearish outlook. And now, a little earlier in the year, I said 25,000, possibly upwards of 35,000, just because last year it got to 20,000. And once it reaches 20,000 again, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. Just because, well, it reached 20,000 last year, and that's when it super dumped. So a lot of people might think, hey, once it reaches 20,000, I'm going to sell because I don't want to be a part of that dump again, and I want to be able to get back in at a much lower price. So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. Also, once we get into the teens, the tens of thousands in Bitcoin again, a lot of volume is going to be unlocked. So, you know, those of you who bought at 16 or 17,000 and then the price dipped on you and you didn't sell and you're still holding that coin that was valued at the time of 16 or 17, even $18,000, $19,000, that's all going to be unleashed, if you will. So once it gets back to 17,000, your funds will be back, and a lot of people are going to be like, well, you know, I waited this long and held this coin this long, maybe I'll just sell it and give up. And there's going to be a lot of people doing that. I know that seems a little crazy, but there's going to be a lot of people doing that. So it's just going to be all over the place in the teens, and 20,000 is going to be a great time of uncertainty. So he attributed the shrinking time horizons for price action to increase of participants in this rapidly growing market. Problem is that to get to 50,000, there's going to have to people buying it to 50,000. Right now, the sentiment of crypto is quite a bit lower than what it was at the high time towards the end of 2017. A lot of people got burned by that gigantic dip in price, or crash that I would like to call it. And a lot of people got burned and might not ever return with that money. Also, you also have to know that, look at all these new coins. Look at all these new coins that have popped up. Now, not all these coins popped up in the last, few months. But just look how many there are. And they all have $1 million market caps or so, market cap, well, we're in the 54 millions, 50 millions, 40 millions, 30 millions. All that money is spread out, and so every day there are more coins. Every day there are new ICOs that are sort of sucking up the money that would have gone to Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or just any of these other coins, and that's really spreading out the market a little bit. And is that inherently a bad thing? Not really, but that's also going to make it much harder for Bitcoin to go up, because if you have $1,000 locked up into some ICO coin, that's not $1,000 going into Bitcoin and bringing up Bitcoin. So it's a different world that we are living in from the past 8 months ago. In November and September of 2017 sort of deal. So the bithumb hack update, cryptocurrency exchange recovers 45% of its stolen coins. So bithumb initially reported that hackers had managed to steal 31 million in crypto from its coffers. In the latest hack update report, the platform revealed that it had recovered 14 million worth of the looted cryptocurrencies. Thus, the total losses now stand at just 17 million, at only $17 million. So the main reason for the reduction of the damage is due to the ongoing participation, support, cooperation of cryptocurrency exchanges and cryptocurrency foundations across the world, and also our quick response to the cyber attack by removing cryptocurrencies from hot wallets to cold wallets effectively contributed to reducing the overall damage. And now I've been talking about this for a while with cryptocurrency exchanges, and that they have way too much in their hot wallets. I think, again, I hate to keep saying it, but the perfect example is NiceHash. When they got hacked, they lost 62 million in Bitcoin. I think it equated to some 4,000 and some Bitcoin at the time, which ended up making 62 million some. And, obviously that was all in one wallet, because it was all gone very, very quickly. And if it was at least spread out into multiple wallets with multiple security features between those wallets, or individually. Sorry, I still got some hair from my haircut. I actually just got it. And that's just silly. Why would you have that much in there? I mean, NiceHash only, at the time, only ever paid out on Fridays in the middle of the night. So there was no reason really to have all of that in one hot wallet at the same time. I think there's just a lot of things that can be done. So here's a list, finally, of the amount of the full list of cryptocurrencies that have been stolen from bithumb, as they previously only mentioned that they had Ripple stolen and some other cryptos. So they had Bitcoin Cash stolen, 692 Bitcoin. They had about 2,200 Ethereum stolen, 300 Omisigo, 5 million XRP. So it looked like the 5 million XRP was one of the biggest ones. The Bitcoin equated to the biggest, and the second biggest was in the amount of Ripple, and then Ethereum counted as third as the most stolen in that attack. So it looks like they had recovered some of it. I'm not sure if they actually caught any kind of hackers or anything like that. It doesn't really say that they caught them, but it does say that they were working with cryptocurrency exchange and other foundations, and perhaps the hackers tried to put it on a different exchange, and that exchange accepted it and then just gave back that amount of crypto. How they went about doing that, not really sure, but some of it has been recovered, so not too bad there. So at least it won't get like market sold and bomb something by the hackers. Why they would do that, I don't know. But of course, they're going to trade it for Monero and Zcash and things like that, so that they can at least obfuscate it a little bit. So the next article here says XRP is a security, Litecoin has no reason to exist, and Ethereum is the best. So EOS launch hasn't gone as badly as I think people say. I don't know if you've been paying attention to it too much. For now, we're holding our position. We haven't sold any. The EOS launch did not go as smoothly as we were hoping it would. All things considered, actually, it hasn't gone as badly as I think people say. Are you sure about that? And you're still holding on to your EOS, and the price is only at 805 now. Mind you, it is going up, but what you have to take into consideration when you look at cryptocurrencies going up is all cryptocurrencies going up. So your crypto is going up because Bitcoin's going up, or because all cryptos are going up because they're all exchanged and tied together, paired together, if you will. So it might not have been good to whoever you are to have been holding on to your EOS this whole time. If you would have sold it when it reached $15, you could have picked it up at nearly $5. So I concur that it wasn't as good a situation as as given the resources they had. Yeah, $4.5 billion. So they made some mistakes and slipped up. But on a long-term horizon, those are rounding errors, excuse me. They don't really matter. They kind of do, but admittedly, they can be fixed. So, you know, as much as I FUD, if you will, on EOS, it can be fixed, hopefully. So Ethereum is the best 10-year play. I kind of agree. Samani also likened EOS' troubled launch to that of Ethereum, the platform upon which EOS was built. So people seem to forget, but Ethereum in its early days back in 2015 when the blockchain launched, it launched with no tooling, no infrastructure. People were really trying to beat this thing into the ground, and that the system was just pretty challenging to use for quite some time. And EOS was better than that. Yeah, but I always go back and say, if you watch somebody do something for the very first time, they're the very first person, the innovators to do it, and they made the very first bridge in the world, you know, and it was made out of stone, and they managed to get it. They had a little trouble, and then you're like, okay, I seen how he made that stone bridge. Now I'm going to go make a nice wooden bridge that is better, and you have a little bit of troubles with it, but it turns out better, and you made it faster. Well, I mean, good for you, but you weren't the first one to do that, you know, so of course it's going to go a little smoother because you learned all the lessons from watching the first people do it, and then now, so, you know, you can't really use that as a really good example, in my opinion. So I do think Ethereum is one of the best cryptos. I think it really probably should be better than Bitcoin in terms of its market cap at the moment. And I know you might think that's crazy. But here's the thing, is that Ethereum is a great store of value, just the same as Bitcoin, really. Sure, Bitcoin's worth more, but they go up and down both the same, essentially. So it's a good store of value. You can buy just as much Ethereum as you can, you know, just for one Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter in that sense. So it's a great store of value. It can be used as a currency. I can send it to you. You can send it to me. You know, and you can also build dApps off of it, which you can't do with Bitcoin. Now, people argue, yes, you can put smart contracts into Bitcoin. You can't put information into the Bitcoin blockchain. But no, not really. It's not really intended to do that, and it doesn't really function very well. Now, Ethereum does have its own problems, and some of these smart contract coins that are coming out do work on those problems a little bit better. But Ethereum is working on its scaling solutions at the moment, and you know, I just feel like it's overall a more useful. It simply has more check marks to check than Bitcoin does. You know, even though ironically I don't own as much Ethereum as Bitcoin, so that's why I say that. So Litecoin has no reason to exist. Litecoin, in my view, has no reason to exist. It was a fork of Bitcoin. It's just been sitting around. The only investment thesis I've ever heard for Litecoin is its test net for Bitcoin, but that's not an investment thesis. So indeed, Litecoin has struggled to remain relevant following the announcement subsequent cancellation of credit card-like payments processing service LitePay. However, that was not Litecoin that was doing that. That was a third-party service. That was just a company making LitePay. So that really didn't have anything to do with Charlie Lee, the creator. It doesn't really have anything to do with Litecoin, other than the fact that they were going to use Litecoin as the payment, and everybody blamed you know, the creator of Litecoin and Litecoin itself for that. And that's not the case. If I decided to make some kind of payment service using Bitcoin and it failed, nobody's going to blame Bitcoin for that. They should be blaming me for the failure. Now, again, Litecoin Does it have a reason to exist? I think so. I think it's a nice coin to use, in terms of very, very low fees, in terms of movement. It moves very fast. But one could argue, and one can always argue, that there's always going to be a better coin for a currency system. I mean, Nano has virtually no fees, and you could argue that Nano is better than Litecoin in that. So I'm going to give him that just a little bit, even though I'm a big fan of Litecoin. I'm going to give him that just a little bit. And then Ripple is a security, so it's quite clear to us that Ripple is a security. We don't know when that news is going to drop, but catalysts seem to have kind of gone away from Ripple. My point is, if Ripple is labeled as a security formally by the SEC, all of the crypto exchanges are going to stop trading Ripple. So if that happens, liquidity is going to dry up on XRP, and the price will plummet. Now, if that's true, if that is true, that it's labeled as security, a lot of coins are going to have to be dropped from exchanges. Basically, all the ICO coins, any coin without its own like little system, in a way. I know Ripple kind of has its own blockchain, and it shouldn't be a security in that sense. But basically, things with their own blockchain, with these, sort of. And all coins have their own developers, but coins that have their own blockchain and really aren't tied to something, in the sense that, if an ICO creates something, so they create a coin to facilitate transactions for them on their website or for their product, that's a security. And Ripple doesn't really fall under that, in my opinion, so I don't think it's a security. But if it is, and it's not only going to be Ripple that will be dropped from exchanges. So if that's the way they think, and that, they can't trade securities on their exchanges, a lot of exchanges are going to have to drop a lot of coins. So it's not just going to be Ripple that is going to be dropped. So our last article here is abnormal Tether price moves on Kraken leaves analysts puzzled. So Tether is making headlines yet again for dubious activity surrounding the token. A report from Bloomberg today details evidence that Tether markets on the US-based Kraken exchange are possibly being manipulated by the practice of wash trading, in which market makers fill their own orders to control the price of an asset. The study cited data between May 1st and June 22nd of 56,000 different Tether trades on Kraken, and found repetitive orders of unlikely similarity. Curiously specific trades, such as one for 13,076 tethers, were among the most frequently ordered amounts on Kraken during the evaluated time period, leading researchers to conclude that the orders were produced by automated trading programs. While there's nothing illegal or even abnormal about the use of trading bots, Tether's resistance to price fluctuations under massive buying pressure begs the question as to whether the bots are being employed for purposes of price manipulation. Probably. Tether's abnormal price action is illustrated in the graphics below, which compare the price movements of Bitcoin and Tether during a specific time frame. So Bitcoin's price shifts in normal response to its trading volume, while Tether's price shows almost no reaction. So on May 9th, 8 consecutive sell orders, each in the amount of 13,076 Tether, were filled over the course of 16 seconds, without changing the price of Tether in the slightest. Against logic, the following trade of just 75 Tether nudged the price up by 0.0001. So that should have moved up the price. So it's pretty clear wash trading. University of Texas professor and Wall Street sleuth John Griffin said that during periods of heightened demand, one would expect Tether's price to perhaps reach $1.10, leading to the issuance of more Tether that moves the price back to $1. But we're not seeing that. So instead of organic price equalization through a process of supply dilution, we are seeing prices immediately controlled back to $1 by the trading bots following any slight fluctuation. The more information is needed to substantiate the allegations of manipulation, but the circumstances are certainly raising alarms, again, by Tether. So Tether and associated exchange Bitfinex are already under investigation by the CFTC, and another case of cryptocurrency market manipulation. Meanwhile, a recent audit by independent law firm Free, Sporkin and Sullivan, Sporkin, oh man, what an unfortunate last name, has found no inconsistencies with the backing of Tethers by US dollar reserves. So FSS is confident that Tether's unencumbered assets exceed the balance of fully backed Tether in circulation. I don't know. Maybe. We'll have to see. I would like to see a real audit on that. But either way, we're at $254 billion market cap. We went pretty low there for a while. We were down to about 5,800 just a little bit ago, and it bombed us all the way down to about $237 billion market cap. But as you can see, it went up pretty quick there, but I'm worried that those may be whale purchases and we may see even lower prices. But hopefully things start to continue here soon and start to chug along. Usually by the Q4-ish of the year, if you will, prices typically go up. You can see that on chart after chart after chart, and that's just when everybody has extra money to be pouring in, and then they end up taking it back out towards the end of December, January, February-ish for the holidays, depending. So depending on where you're at, depending on the time. And you can see those in charts as well. If you just take a look at January or February at the beginning of every year, from 2018, 17, 16, and beyond, you will see that usually the lowest time of the year is around those times in preparation for Chinese New Year. Like I said, holidays, people taking the money out, things like that. People are selling so that they can pay their taxes for buying into crypto and things like that. So that's usually a pretty good time to buy in. It's usually a pretty good time to sell towards the mid-December or so. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and as usual, I will see you guys next time.